was trying to figure out what to name me, and she found the name Norman Allen in the obituary column. I suspect that had I had no family, had I been single, maybe I would have gone to New York City or someplace like that and really tried to focus on playwriting. But by the time I got into playwriting, I had 2 kids and a wife, and it seemed irresponsible to me to go to New York with just nothing, no net, nothing to support me. And so, and then the possibility of teaching in college just sort of opened itself up to me. Texas life. Living in Texas is something that I never expected to do. And we came here and people said, well, Texas is a little different. And indeed, I think Texas is a little different. Me and the Bible. Well, the Bible has been important to me through my whole life. Family background. Well, I grew up in Southern California, and I grew up in a group of people that were called the Brethren in Christ. They were a Mennonite-related denomination, and that setting, Southern California and the Brethren in Christ, really, I think, defined me as an individual. Oh, Texas Tech is a great place to work. It's a great place to learn as a student. It's a great place to teach as a teacher. Well, it's a long story. I think it begins when I was a kid. I loved to read. Eventually, I decided I was in Zambia, and I was about to come back to the United States, and I didn't know what I was going to do. What did I learn from Oscar Brockett? Well, piles and piles and piles of information. Piles of information about theater history and the history of theater theory and all of that sort of thing. But I learned a lot from Dr. Brockett about what it means to be a teacher and an educator. He was so serious about what he was doing, and yet and so good at what he was doing, and so knowledgeable about what he was doing, and yet frequently, in response to a student's question, would say, I don't know. And I thought, wow, to be able to say that when his students knew that he knew so much, admirable. We had that kind of 1950s ideal family, and as far as I know, it wasn't masking a lot of ugliness that was under the surface. It was indeed that kind of a family. My church was, I would say, biblicist. If it was in the Bible, you had to pay attention to it. And if it wasn't in the Bible, it was maybe not worth paying attention to. And many of the people in the church wore clothes that were sort of ethnic and were not exactly the way other people dressed. So, and I was always aware that the values that I was taught were different from the values of people around. I had never had a course in theater, but it interested me. And then when I had an opportunity to study at Kansas State, I took it, and it turned out that almost everyone on the faculty was a playwright. They taught acting and playwriting, directing and playwriting, stagecraft and playwriting. They were all playwrights. And so I got my start as a playwright at Kansas State University, and have been doing it ever since. I thought I was going to be a pastor. And I think when I was a kid, probably it was like a duty to uh, understand and get to know the Bible. It was something you should do, and so on. And but then I think that even while I was doing it under that sort of understanding, I enjoyed it. And then at this point, the duty sense of it has sort of uh, gone away. This is one of my favorite pieces that I have. It's called Last Supper, and it was painted by Roscoe. He signed it a couple times in '99. Roscoe, his full name is Ross Martin. He is the brother of my ex-wife. And of course this painting has, first of all, Keith Haring over here, the artist Keith Haring, and then the graffiti artist Basquiat here with blue hairdo. And then of course in the middle we have Andy Warhol. It's one of my favorite pieces. I'm very glad I have it. I'm going to order my mother's. Actually, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go to grocery shopping at the store.